Hey guys, this is Mr. Gran, and this video is 1.1 day 1, measuring segments and angles. In this video, we're going to be talking about points, lines, planes, segments, and rays, what they are and how to label all of them. All right, so first thing, a point. A point is a location that has no size. It is infinitesimally small. That's kind of a fun thing to say. The way the diagram would look, well, it's just a dot, and usually there's a letter by that dot to indicate what its label is. Our notation for that, really, we would just call it A. It's always going to be a capital letter. Also, we could call it point A. So point A, that would be the other way that we could show that one. All right, for a line, we've got two or more points on a straight path, and it extends forever in both directions. So on our diagram, what a line looks like, what we consider a line, it has to have arrows on both sides, and it's really important. Those arrows indicate that it extends forever. It never stops. Now, there's a couple of different ways these can be labeled. Sometimes there's a little lowercase letter that's by one of the arrows. That would be one way we could do it. We could just call it lowercase n, or we could call it line n, also would work. Oftentimes, though, it's going to have two labeled points. So just like before, capital letters, little dots with them. And so we could call this line AB. Now, the way that we would indicate that, the way we would label that, we would say it's AB, and you'd put a little line on top of it with arrows in both directions. That tells me that it's a line that extends forever in both directions and goes through these 2 points. Now, question, does order matter here? Not really, because AB and BA, they both extend forever in both directions, so we could also make it like that, and that indicates the exact same thing. All right, a plane. So not an aeroplane, but a plane, as in a flat surface that extends forever in all directions. It's got to have 3 or more points on it in order to be able to label it. So usually on a diagram of this, we'll start out with like a parallelogram, right? We can't show the entire thing, so we just sort of make this flat, kind of looks like a sheet of paper. One way that we can note this, oftentimes it will have kind of a fancy like script capital letter in one of the corners, and so we could call this plain P or just P, right? A more common way that you're going to see it in this class probably is that there are 3 points on that plane which are labeled, and they may be part of lines or rays or segments or anything like that, but there's 3 points on there, so we could say that this is plane ABC. Again, order doesn't matter in this case, so we could see as BAC or CBA or any other combination of those. All right, some subsegments of lines. One of them is a segment, subsets of lines. So a segment is a part of a line. So this has a starting and a stopping point, right? It begins at one point and it ends in the other point. So for example, it would look something like this. And so if we say that that's AB, this would be line segment AB. Now we could extend that, right? Like this could be part of a line, and we could just talk about the distance from A to B as a segment. But this is what we'll use as our diagram for just a segment. Okay, so our notation, we would say AB, and a little line on top of it that doesn't have an arrow. We could also say, again, order doesn't matter, so we could have it as BA as well. All right, and then our last one is going to be a ray. Now with a ray, it's kind of like a segment and a line put together, right? It's got one starting point, and then it goes forever in one direction. So it's part of a line, but it only goes one way. So we would usually have something like this. There's a second point on there somewhere that's defined, and an arrow going in that direction. And again, this could be part of a line, right? Like we could just define this part of it off of like an overall line that goes infinitely in both directions. We could just talk about this part of it as a ray. All right, so if we call that AB, in this case, order does matter when we label it, because if I have AB like that, the arrow goes with the B, not with the A, because it starts at A, extends through B, and then goes on forever in one direction. So we would want to say AB with an arrow like that, where the arrow is over the B. All right, a couple of examples on labeling these things, right? So we've got a diagram here. We've got a plane, we've got all kinds of stuff, couple of lines through it. We want to name the plane using one letter. Well, we've got a lot of letters up here, but which letter is the one that actually counts? It's the capital letter in the fancy script that's in the corner. That indicates the entire plane. Not this M here or this L or any of these capital regular letters, but this uppercase kind of fancy P. So we would say P. All right, name the plane using 3 letters, right? Well, what we want to do is pick the right letters. This one doesn't count. If we're naming it with 3 letters, we're taking 3 points on that plane. This is not a point. That lowercase m is not a point. That indicates this line. That lowercase l is not a point. That indicates this line. It's got to be one of these like regular capital letters, or 3 of them in this case, to indicate a plane. So we could really pick any of them we want. If I do A, B, D, for example, that would work. One note on that, you don't want to pick like 3 points that are on a straight line, right? You want to pick 3 points that aren't on a straight line. So if I go A and B, if I pick this one and this one, I really don't want to pick this one. I want to pick one that's kind of off to the side one way or the other for it. All right. So sticking with that diagram, let's name line BD in a different way. So here is our line BD that we're talking about, right? Well, one way that we could do that, one way we could name this, I know it's this because B and D are on this line, right? So we're talking about this line right here. Other way I could name it is with this lowercase m, kind of fancy script M that's down at one of the corners. Next one, naming array with endpoint C, right? Well, that endpoint, that's like the starting point, right? So what we want to do, now I don't want to go this direction, right? Because I don't have any other points labeled there. I want to go in the other direction. So I want to like think about how I could name it going this direction. Well, I'm going to start with a C and then really either B with a line like that, indicating that it starts at C and goes through B, or I could do CA would work as well. All right, and then last one, naming a segment using point B. So starting at point B, I can name any segment. So I could go to D, to C, to A. Any of those are a segment, right? So I'll go with BD and just make sure that I put a line over the top of it with no end or no arrows on either side, indicating that I'm starting at B, ending at D, and not going any further. All right, 2 other names to line BC. So now we're talking about the whole line here, right? And we've named it using B and C. So what are some different ways that we can name it? Well, I could certainly use the lowercase l right here on the end. That would be one way. Another way that I could do it, I could just take any other 2 points that are on there. So maybe I take AB or AC. I could even just switch the letters around. Really, like any combination of 2 of these points in any order will work.